Welcome to Chamber Chats, a weekly series by the West Monroe West Washita Chamber of Commerce highlighting our valued members. As always, find out more about the Chamber and our members online at westmonroechamber.org. And now, this week's episode of West Monroe West Washita Chamber Chats.
Welcome to this episode of Chamber Chats, filmed live here at Louisiana Delta Community College. We're proud that the Chamber has today members from Entergy. Welcome, ladies.
Welcome. Thank you for having us here today.
Will you introduce yourselves and tell us what your title is at Entergy?
I'm Amanda Edge. I am the Customer Service Manager here in our region.
Wonderful. And my name is Michelle Burke. I serve as the Vice President of Customer Service for Entergy Louisiana. So I work with Amanda and a team of customer service professionals across this great state.
That's exciting. So, I mean, obviously we know Entergy from our customer experience, but you guys are involved in every aspect from economic development to kind of being an economic engine for the future chapters of our state. I know that you're here with a special intention, though. Tell us what the vision for the future coming from Entergy is right now.
Oh, great question. Thank you for having us here today. So really proud of a program that we recently filed with the Louisiana Public Service Commission for approval, and we're dubbing it Entergy Future Ready. So the program in a nutshell is all around being proactive.
Sure.
So looking out ahead to the future, recognizing that we continue to see threats from tropical systems, from ice storms, from tornadoes, and these threats are coming more frequently and with more intensity. So we're looking forward and saying, you know what? We want to proactively replace a large swath of our infrastructure that we know in the face of these major catastrophic events may not perform exactly as we would want them to perform or as our customers and communities would want them to perform. So this is improving infrastructure with a resiliency lens, making sure that they're storm hardened and they're ready to respond to anything that Mother Nature may bring.
So you just said storm hardened. Let's play on that for a second. The last couple of years, Louisiana has been taught some pretty significant lessons in being prepared both for tropical events, but also from freezes and things that maybe we haven't anticipated with the lens that we are looking now. Can you tell us a little bit, maybe some tangible examples of what that new preparedness plan is incorporating?
Absolutely. So what we filed with the Louisiana Public Service Commission, sorry for that stutter there, we filed with the LPSC was a request for a program that will span over 10 years to replace transmission infrastructure. So these are the major kind of superhighways, the backbone of our electric infrastructure, distribution facilities that run through neighborhoods and communities and serve most residential customers. It also has a focus on our substation assets, which interconnect the two, and some vegetation and some other kind of more special projects. So this 10-year, nearly $10 billion program has projects all across the state of Louisiana. I think the total is around 10,000 projects that have been identified specifically with a lens towards getting out infrastructure that may not perform and focusing on the communities where we've got the most critical customers that are our customers, right, and the communities need to be back up and running after the face of the storm passes.
Sure.
So ultimately, this would decrease the duration of those outages in a storm event.
Yeah, and better prepare for the future.
Sure.
So when you're using this perspective and this lens, I'm sure it takes a myriad of input from engineers all the way out to community stakeholders. So what is some of the concerns that you're kind of trying to mitigate? Obviously, tropical storms, freezes. What are other things that you're kind of looking as you filter this lens?
Right. So we recognize our state's got all different types of hazards that it may face. So ice storms, tornadic activity, and then tropical events. And Amanda hit the nail on the head, right? We recognize that in the face of the storm, our communities need to get back up on their feet much more quickly than, say, we've been able to perform after the Lauras and the Idas of the world in 2020 and 2021. So improving the infrastructure so that after the storm passes, we're not having to pick up as much infrastructure in the face of the storm, and in the process, restoring the flow of electrons to our customers and the communities we serve. The other aspect of it, too, is that it's much more cost effective to replace this infrastructure on our terms, right? On our timeline in a proactive fashion. Because in the face of the storm, in the aftermath of it, we've got to bring in crews from all over the country, and we're grateful for those partnerships that we have with other utilities and our contract partners, but it's much more costly to do it in a reactive way.
Well, in that moment, you're feeding crews, you're
Right.
logistically housing them, you're
A lot of logistics go
staging all
behind
that
it.
stuff, and all
Yeah.
of that is cost.
Yes.
And so ultimately for the consumer, you're trying to be proactive and plan for this so that our impact to our electric bill in the very long term is mitigated, right? So ultimately there's a cost. We're kind of discussing that now. Tell us some of the things that, as you're looking to the future, what is the average consumer impact going to look like?
Right. So we're working really closely right now with our regulator, who's the Louisiana Public Service Commission. I got it out. To evaluate the merits of the program.
Sure.
So what we're asking for is really a portion of the program that we filed. We're seeking approval for that. So the first phase of it is we're dubbing
Right.
for the first 5 years. And so we're always balancing, as we think about how we improve our infrastructure, we're always balancing this affordability with reliability and now resiliency, right, in the equation.
Sure.
Because we can't have a gold-plated system that nobody can afford.
Absolutely.
Right? But we also want a system that meets our expectations and meets our customers' expectations. So we're kind of doing that balancing act right now. So should we receive approval for the program as it's designed today, we would expect, as we would ramp up the program, that there would be a modest impact for the average residential customer. Depending on the pace and depending on how quickly we go, it could be a couple dollars, $2, $3 a month as the program ramps up over time, and it would build on itself, right, as we make
At a
additional
couple dollars, though, you might not even notice. Like my average electric bill is $100 and something. I might not even notice that that's added in, but I would notice that the impact of my downtime over time is getting resolved. In the freeze, we were out without power for 5 days. I think, Amanda, you were too.
Absolutely.
And so having those outages become less frequent or mitigated in other dimensions is important. One thing that we always talk about is being business friendly in our area, and being a look to economic development. Amanda, do you want to speak to, I know your role has recently changed, but do you want to speak to how Entergy is looking to the future in terms of economic development for our region?
Sure. Well, as far as economic development, I think the growth of business is key.
Sure.
And one of the things that we have here that is of great value to us is that sometimes we are out of those storm areas,
Sure.
So we have the potential to see growth. We've really focused on site development. We've been working hand in hand with our municipalities as well as our regional economic development groups to really put a focus on having shovel-ready sites for business that's coming in to locate in our area, to promote our area.
And I believe that's at a multitude of levels, from the giant car plant on down. You
Sure.
guys are working at in multitudes of areas because the power consumption for that is extraordinary. You're dealing in megawatts where the consumer would never have that kind of thought process.
Right, absolutely. Our capacity for just the normal typical customer for our residential customers is above and beyond right now, but when you have a large industrial customer, then you do have to see how is that going to play to the grid and make those arrangements for generation to serve that particular customer.
Sure. That's exciting to kind of look to the future, to know that Entergy is planning with our key stakeholders to make us more prepared for those inevitable things that are going to hit the state. What is the average person can do to contribute to making sure the power stays on at our house and our businesses?
You want to take that?
Well, I guess, really making sure, you report any trees that are potential issues. Vegetation seems to be a big issue. So, even, prior to storms, letting us know, calling in, let us know that there's vegetation in and not your service line, but your main line.
Right.
And for us to, do that trimming, as well as, just being conscious of your usage, especially on these hotter days.
Sure.
We recommend it being, and I know this sounds crazy, but 78 is what we suggest, keeping your thermostat on, running fans, doing things like that to really decrease that potential of increase in your bill.
Sure. And then y'all have partnered with subsidies, so like there are programmable thermostats that you can access.
Yes.
Do you want to speak to a little bit about some of those subsidies?
So we do have that with the programmable. We have Power to Care that helps some of our low income. We've worked with United Way on giving some rebates previously, and we continue to look at how do we help sustain the customer that is on a fixed income as they move forward with life.
That's awesome. One of the things that I think is so interesting, especially in utilities, is when y'all do an excellent job, we don't notice. It's only when something goes wrong that we go, oh, I don't have power for a moment, or I don't have power.
Our former CEO would say often to us, no one wakes up in the morning going, I want to buy some electricity.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
We want our customers, we all want as human beings, right? We want the outcome that comes from turning on the light switch, right?
Sure.
Or plugging in the phone and getting connectedness to the world. So it's kind of a mindset shift for us that we've evolved over many, many years now, where we used to think about as engineers, right, our assets, right, our wires and our
Sure.
poles. And we've evolved in our mindset to now be more focused on what do our customers want from us, right? Like what does our commodity that we provide do for the community, and how can we offer products and services that better meet the community's needs and our customers' needs. So it's a mindset shift for us.
Absolutely, and in that mindset, I'd love for you to elaborate just for a second that we're not an isolated, Entergy is not isolated in the region or in the state. Y'all are part of a larger group and have been for a number of years. Do you want to speak to how that better prepares us, but also buffers the price for the average consumer?
Yep, no, that's a great question. So back in 2013, let me back up even from there. Before then, Entergy was a transmission planning function, right? We had our own generation, and we kind of were on our own, right? We did our own thing. Back in 2013, we joined a bigger pool of generators and transmission lines all across the kind of the middle part of the state, all the way up to Minnesota, down to the Gulf Coast. And so now, as we plan for how we're going to serve our customers and what generation mix we need, we've got access now to a much bigger pool of generators, and that's delivered hundreds of millions of dollars in benefit for our customers, having access to more affordable generation, and also allowing us not to have to run our generators as much at their minimum. So it's been a great thing for our customers.
And that, can you explain just for a moment, that means that you're not running extra capacity when you don't need it,
Right.
and you can weather a storm, for lack of a better word.
Well, that as well as, which source is the cheapest that particular day,
Got
so
it.
it really does help mitigate the cost of generation.
So based on
as well.
weather patterns, temperature, and what else is going on in the market and demand, y'all
Right.
are making choices that ultimately impact the consumer's pricing to buy that wholesale megawatts at a time
Right.
across this whole the whole center of the country.
And
That's
over-
extraordinary, actually. Like, that's a very big picture
Yes.
perspective.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. Well, is there anything that you feel is a misconception about what's going on in Entergy that you'd like to kind of use this lens to kind of amplify?
Maybe not a misconception per se, but maybe just to reinforce, we really are looking towards the future. We've got plans in place to incorporate more renewable generation into our portfolio, something that our customers have overwhelmingly told us that they want to see, right, to meet sustainability goals and to be better stewards of the environment.
Sure.
So we've got a lot of work going on in that space. Certainly we talked about our grid and how we're transforming our grid to be more resilient in the face of these catastrophic events that Mother Nature just is sending our way with more frequency. So maybe put a shameless plug of sorts in for just public safety. And we talked about what our customers can do to to help keep the power flowing, but making sure that if power is interrupted, right, folks know to stay away from down power lines and not to touch anything that they may think is energized. And the rule of thumb is 10 feet away from any downed facilities or any facilities in question that you think may be
Sure.
compromised. So.
And I would say, I think it's very important for the community to know that we understand that we can only be as successful as the customers and communities that we serve. We do give back a lot to the communities. Oftentimes that's not seen because of the programs that we do donate
Right.
to that are probably very near and dear to your heart. And we do pride ourselves in being a good community steward within the areas that we serve. So I think that that's an important piece as well. Our Power to Care program is actually a program that our employees give to,
cool.
to help, help low-income families that may have a struggle on a particular month, that, they can access that funding. So
With an eye that seniors or someone in need shouldn't be choosing between medicine and power.
Correct.
Or air conditioning and, those critical
Right.
things. So you just mentioned, and this is my last question for you, and expanding those renewables and maybe solar or something, but that's not new for Entergy. You've been in that world before. Could you talk a little bit about, what y'all are looking towards, maybe specifically in our region in terms of renewables?
Yeah, no, we're not new to the game, but certainly we're looking to take the game to the next level. Maybe
There we
that's
go.
a better way
Love
to
that.
say it. So, so we filed for some approvals before the Louisiana Public Service Commission to site some new solar generating facilities all across the state. One may or may not be here in Ouachita Parish, so we're working to collaboratively with the local municipality on that. And we're really proud of what that resource and what all the solar resources across the state will do to transform our fleet in the process,
Sure.
deliver cleaner, greener electrons for our customers.
And I said last question, but now I have one more. You've mentioned several times the Public Service Commission. I'm not sure that everybody understands that just because it makes financial sense for Entergy or any of our power generating companies across the state, there is a governmental oversight layer to that. Do you want to speak for a minute about how y'all interact, how you make plans, and why you have to have such a long vision for investment?
I'll let you go ahead.
So Entergy and all utilities across the state of Louisiana, with very few exceptions, are regulated by the Louisiana Public Service Commission. So it's a board of elected officials. There's 5 across the regions of the state, and they're appointed or elected for 6-year terms. And they've got a staff of engineers, attorneys, accountants, all different disciplines of expertise who help make sure, really, that the work that Entergy and peer utilities across the state, that it's in the best public interest. Because as a regulated monopoly, right. We enjoy the opportunity and the privilege, really, of serving customers in different geographies across the state. But with that comes oversight in the regulatory body by the LPSC. So we've got great relationships. We work collaboratively with their staffs, and really, we're always looking for productive investments for our customers, and that kind of best thing that we can do to make sure that we're providing affordable, reliable, and sustainable service for our customers.
That's awesome. What a long vision, what a complicated thing, and what a balancing act between government, your key stakeholders, industry, and what is good for the bottom line for Entergy.
Yeah.
Right.
So thank you so much for your insight. Thank you for being such a good steward and a member of the Chamber and supporting so many of our programs and services that we offer at the West Monroe West Ouachita Chamber.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys, for joining us on this episode of Chamber Chats. For more information about Entergy or any of our other amazing members, check westmonroechamber.org.